This bill, Senator Enweboy, for his thoughts and innovation towards rebounding and re-energizing our economy. This is a wonderful initiative, a very, very good initiative, worthy of commendation. Mr. President, day in, day out, raw materials are exported out of this country to develop other economies, whereas we have the capacity, the human capital, the technical resources to a kind of act on these raw materials, to process these raw materials. And by not doing so, we are undermining our economy while allowing for the promotion of other economies. But once this bill is passed, it will now be mandatory that these raw materials must be processed here, at least 30%. This will energize the economy by providing jobs, by promoting our real sector. Our real sector will be energized, to be more up and running. It's very straightforward. Very, very, very straightforward. Several industries will emerge because it will now be mandatory that you don't engage this lazy attitude of taking raw materials outside the shores of this country. That this raw material must be processed here. Value addition should take place. And once you do that, more factories will be opened, more jobs will be created, more revenue will accrete to the government, people will be engaged, your economy will become buoyant. Very short, very straightforward, Mr. President. I therefore urge my colleagues to support this bill because it will do good to our economy. It will help our economy. It will re-energize our economy. Our economy will become more diversified. Mr. President, please, I urge my colleagues please to support this bill. I so submit.
The whip of the Senate.
My name is Mohamed Tair Munguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. First and foremost, I want to wholly adopt all the submissions made by the Deputy Senate President in support of the bill as mine, and further add that this bill is novel, germane, and very, very relevant, having regard to our present economic situation and the drive as encapsulated in the Renewed Hope agenda to attain a $1 trillion economy. If we are going to achieve that lofty objective of attaining a $1 trillion economy, then there is need for us to strengthen our exports by value addition with a view to earning the much needed dollars for the purpose of leapfrogging our drive towards the attainment of that goal. In addition to that, Mr. President, distinguished senators, if this bill eventually sees the light of the day, the 30% value addition that this bill proposes will go a long way on creating employment for our teeming unemployed youth, with all the attendant advantage of reducing the problem of insecurity that has been brought as a result of youth unemployment. So this bill is novel, and it's in tandem with our economic objectives, and I urge my colleagues to support the second reading of this bill. Thank you.
He told me that the 30% is just the beginning of a process, that it is easier for us to achieve a 30% value addition now. And subsequently, he's with the opinion that in future, 30% will be raised to 40 to 50 until we are able to achieve rich productivity, converting our raw material into usable products. And the value of this is so obvious. We are going to provide more employment for our people. We are going to generate more FX. A lot of change will be achieved, productive change we have achieved through this process. So I stand to support the bill in totality and to urge our colleague to quickly move so that we can do a second reading and quickly pass the bill. Thank you, Mr. President, for giving us this opportunity.
Is there anybody who is opposed to this bill? Anybody opposed to it? Anybody opposed to it? Okay, distinguished Senator Olare.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Very distinguished colleagues. My name is Kamaluddin Olalere Oyewumi. I represent the good people of also West Central District. Central District that is used locally and exported. Sir, as good as this bill look, I think there's need for caution here because of nature of some products. For instance, from the past 20, 30 years, Nigeria produce oil. Because there's no local refinery, everything is being exported. But now that we have local refinery, they are selling to local industries. If you assume that all the products should not be exported raw, what of if you don't have companies that are going to consume them locally? Especially things like cocoa, which are produced in large quantities in my own senatorial district. As we speak, less than 10% of them can be consumed locally because there's no company that's going to consume them. If it cannot be taken with blanket approval, it may happen to some product when we have industry that will consume them, but those that are not yet established, this thing has to be gradual until we have industry that will consume them locally. If not, we are going to surcharge the farmers that have sunk a lot of money into producing these commodities if you just say, from now, they should not export their product. That is just my concern, Mr. President. Thank you.
Yes.
Industries to be set up in Nigeria. You see, all over the world, I'll give you an instance in Uganda, when President Museveni gave directive last 2 years that all those that take solid mineral from their country must establish industry. And he gave them a moratorium period to establish industry and process it in the country for them to reduce pressure on their forex as well as generate employment. So I think there is no need for fear because there's provision for that in the bill for a moratorium period for other industries to be set up in the country. And the agency is ready to follow suit, Mr. President. Thank you.
Distinguished colleagues, a bill for an act to provide for the establishment of raw materials, processing and local production protection, and for later matters 2024. Second reading taken. And this bill is now referred to the Committee on Science and Technology to be brought back to the Senate in 6 weeks. Leader of the Senate.
Distinguished colleagues, permit me to lead the debate on this very important bill, which is the Raw Material Processing and Local Production Protection Bill 2024. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, you may recall that the bill was read for the first time in this hallowed chamber on Tuesday, the 15th day of October 2024. Distinguished colleagues, as Nigeria seeks sustainable economic growth, the introduction of the Raw Material Processing and Local Production Protection Bill promises to be a transformative initiative. This legislation aims to boost local manufacturing, enhance job creation, and reduce overdependency on importation, and mandating, I repeat, and mandating that no raw material be exported outside Nigeria without undergoing at least 30% processing domestically. This bill, if enacted into law, will regulate importation of raw materials readily available for local production. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, promoting local processing to a minimum of 30% or more will add value to our economy, particularly to our naira, and will also encourage innovation within our local industries, as this initiative will lead to a significant increase in our local industries. Distinguished colleagues, Mr. President, this bill, if enacted into law, will shield Nigerian manufacturers from foreign competition by regulating the importation of raw materials that can be produced locally. Distinguished colleagues, in all, this bill will create a more favorable environment for domestic companies to thrive and will foster national pride and economic independence like other developed countries of the world like China, United States, and what have you. Thank you, Mr. President, for this opportunity.